This question, it probably hits close to home for pretty much all of us, right? You're scrolling through your phone, you see what everyone else is up to, and that little voice in your head starts whispering, hey, why not me? It's such a common feeling, but you know what? It's also a trap. At its heart, it's this nagging belief that the grass is always greener on the other side. And the worst part is, this doesn't just make us feel a little jealous, it literally steals our own happiness. Let's see how this all plays out through the story of a character who's actually pretty relatable.
So, our story kicks off with a simple wish. A wish that's born from that feeling of just not being good enough. Let's meet our guy.
So picture this crow. He looks at himself and all he sees is plain, unwanted, and dark. People are always shooing him away. His entire world is just defined by everything he thinks he's lacking. And right there, boom, the trap is set. He gets completely fixated on this swan, which to him is a symbol of everything he's not. Elegant, admired, pure white. In his mind, the swan's life has got to be perfect. He truly believes that if he could just be the swan, he'd finally be happy. And so, he sets off to find this happiest bird.
But, as our crow is about to find out, the lives we admire from a distance, well, they often look a whole lot different when you get up close.
Okay, so check out this gap between what the crow thinks and what's actually going on. The crow sees only beauty and admiration. The swan, though, she's living with this constant, nagging fear. Her beauty, the very thing the crow is so envious of, is what makes her a target. This is not the carefree, perfect life the crow imagined at all.
And just like that, the cycle keeps on going. The swan, who can't even see her own good fortune, points the crow toward the next happiest bird. See, she's also caught in the very same trap, thinking the colorful parrot must have it so much better. The crow's journey is far from over.
So, the crow finds the parrot, and, you guessed it, the illusion shatters all over again. Sure, the parrot is a king of colors, but he's a king locked away in a cage. And this shows us a really painful truth. Sometimes the very things that make us admired can become the bars of our own prison.
You can just feel the sadness in the parrot's words. His beauty isn't a gift, it's a curse that literally cost him his freedom. And, just like the swan before him, he looks to another creature, the peacock, who he assumes has it all, beauty and freedom.
All right, so the crow flies to the zoo. He's thinking, okay, this has got to be it. I'm finally going to find the one creature who is truly happy, who really has it all.
And wow, the sight is just spectacular. People are gathered all around, totally mesmerized by this peacock's incredible display. From the outside, this looks like the absolute best life imaginable. Surely, this has to be the happiest creature on the entire planet.
But then the peacock reveals the awful truth. The source of all his fame is also the source of his agony. For every person that admires him, there's a moment of excruciating pain when his feathers are plucked out just so they can be sold. His beauty is just a product, and he's the one who pays for it with constant suffering.
And there it is, the final, absolutely shocking twist. The very creature the crow thought was the height of happiness looks at our plain black crow and sees the ultimate symbol of freedom. The peacock envies the one thing the crow completely took for granted and even hated about himself.
In that one single moment, the entire world just shifts for our crow. Everything he thought he knew about happiness gets turned completely upside down.
You can almost see the wheels turning in his head. He's thinking back, okay, the swan lives in fear. The parrot has lost his freedom. The peacock is in constant pain. And me, I can fly anywhere I want. I'm unbothered, I'm not in a cage, and I'm not in pain. I am free.
And that's the heart of it right there. He was so busy chasing this idea of beauty that he totally missed the incredible gift he already had all along, the simple, profound, and absolutely priceless gift of freedom.
And with that realization, finally, comes peace. The journey that started with this desperate wish to be someone else ends with a powerful, quiet acceptance of himself. His long search for happiness is finally over.
This brings us to a single, really powerful concept, which is expressed so beautifully in Arabic, ar-rida. It means contentment, a deep, genuine satisfaction with what you have. And it's not about settling for less, it's about realizing the incredible value in your own reality.
So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? Well, it's that comparing our lives to other people's is just a losing game, because we're always measuring our messy, real lives against their perfect highlight reel.
The truth is, everyone is dealing with hidden struggles. That simple freedom the crow had, it was the exact thing the magnificent peacock was wishing for. And in the end, peace doesn't come from becoming someone else, but from fully, completely embracing who we already are.
So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. What energy could you get back? What new joy could you find? And what amazing strengths could you discover if you just stepped out of that trap of comparison and fully embraced the freedom of just being you?
So let me ask you this. What if everything you've learned over your lifetime, all your experience, wasn't just ignored, but was actually a crime? A crime so bad, the punishment was death. Sounds crazy, right? Well, that shocking idea is exactly where our story begins.
So, let's set the scene. We're in a kingdom that on the surface seems perfect. It's prosperous, it's strong, but it's run by a leader with a very cold and very, very wrong idea about the future. This ruler, he was obsessed with youth, with strength, with productivity, and he came to this terrible conclusion that older people didn't contribute anything anymore. In his mind, they were just a drain on the kingdom, a weight holding everyone back from progress. So what does he do? He issues this decree, and it's as heartless as it gets. Every single elderly person in the kingdom had to be taken up into the mountains and just left there to die. This wasn't just some policy, it was a direct attack on family, on history, on respect. You can imagine, the whole kingdom is just filled with fear and sadness. But while most people felt they had no choice but to obey, one young farmer named Isamu, he just couldn't do it. He loved his mother, and he knew her value was something the ruler could never, ever measure. So he decided he was going to break the law. And Isamu's decision, this wasn't just a momentary act of defiance. Oh no, it was the start of a dangerous, secret journey, a true sacrifice for his mother. So, under the cover of darkness, Isamu lifted his mother onto his back and began this incredibly difficult journey up into the mountains. But he wasn't going there to leave her. He was taking her to a secret shelter he'd built to keep her safe. You can just imagine every step, feeling the physical weight, but also the weight of the risk he was taking. But here's where the story takes a really beautiful turn. Even in this terrifying moment where she's being carried toward what should be her end, Isamu's mother isn't thinking about herself. Not at all. Her mind is completely focused on her son. You see, as he carried her up the winding path, she was quietly reaching out, snapping little twigs off the branches they passed, and just letting them fall. Isamu didn't even notice. He was so focused on the climb. She was leaving a trail. But it wasn't for someone to find her. It was to make sure that her son, her beloved son, could find his way back home safely and not get lost. Okay, so time goes by. Isamu is taking care of his mother in their hidden shelter. But back in the kingdom, the ruler's ego is about to cause a brand new problem for everyone. The ruler, wanting to show off how powerful and clever he was, issues another challenge. But this one is a riddle, a seemingly impossible one. He demands that his people bring him a rope made entirely of ash. And the whole kingdom just panicked. I mean, think about it. The smartest scholars, the most skilled artisans, nobody had a clue. A rope is strong because you can pull it. Ash is, well, it's what's left after a fire. It's the definition of fragile. Making a rope from it felt like it broke the laws of nature. But the answer to this impossible riddle wasn't going to come from the people the ruler celebrated. Nope. It was going to come from the very wisdom he'd tried to throw away. Isamu, seeing how desperate everyone was, finally told his mother about the ruler's insane demand. He probably expected her to be as stumped as everyone else, but instead, she listened quietly, thought for a moment, and then she smiled. This puzzle that had brought the entire kingdom to its knees was, to her, simple. Her advice was so simple, it was genius. She told him, don't try to make a rope out of ash, turn a rope into ash. She saw the problem from a completely different angle, one that only comes with a lifetime of experience. So following her instructions to the letter, Isamu wove a tight rope of straw. Then he laid it out on a line of flat stones so it would hold its shape. And then he waited for a perfectly still, windless night. And he set it on fire. The straw just burned away, and what was left? A fragile but perfectly formed rope made of pure ash. All right, so Isamu has the solution. He's done the impossible. Now comes the really hard part, going back and facing the ruler. This was the moment of truth. The next day, Isamu carefully carried the stones with the rope of ash right into the ruler's palace. And the ruler was stunned. Just speechless. He's staring at this thing he was sure could never exist, a perfect, gray, delicate rope of ash.
But the ruler wasn't just amazed, he was suspicious. He knew there was no way a simple farmer could come up with something so clever. So he demands, "Who told you how to do this? Where did you get this knowledge?" And this is it, the moment of truth. Isamu takes a deep breath and he tells the ruler everything. He confesses to breaking the law, to hiding his mother, and he reveals that this brilliant solution came from her, one of the very people the ruler had called useless. In that instant, you can just see it all click for the ruler. The lie he had built his kingdom on, that the elderly were a burden, just crumbled. The simple, undeniable truth was right there in front of him. The wisdom he'd been looking for wasn't in youth, it was in the experience he had tried so hard to erase. Humbled, and maybe a little ashamed, the ruler immediately abolished his cruel law, and from that day on, the elderly were no longer seen as a burden. Instead, they were honored, celebrated as treasures of wisdom whose experience was vital to the kingdom's future. And really, that's the powerful lesson here, isn't it? It's a reminder that true wisdom isn't always about being the fastest or the strongest. Sometimes it's about perspective, the kind that's earned over a lifetime. The problems that seem impossible to us, well, the solutions might just be waiting in the stories of our elders. The only question is, are we willing to listen?